might as well say what you got to say before you're dead.
And I encourage you to watch it once, twice, 3 times. I love when politicians say Let me tell you something. You're thinking he's stupid, you know. If you take offense to it personally, that's your business. And it's the number one show. That's the show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Citizens Review. I'm Aaron Ferguson, the host and executive producer, and I'm here in studio this week with Dion DaCosta Gibson, as I know him from Facebook and personally, but he's also known as Gibby the Farmer. And the reason why Dion is here is because we're going to talk about sustainable agriculture. I think the budget, it was brought up that there'll be an agriculture school. Of course, you know, I think that dream being sold is just as far-fetched as any other nonsense that they talk in the budget. But I thought it'd be wise to bring somebody who's being educated on sustainable agriculture and talk about it with sense, as opposed to having fun in the parliament talking nonsense. So Gibby the Farmer is here, and you don't get involved in all that politics. Let me cover that. I need agriculture from you.
Yes.
You started your studies in Cuba.
Yes.
Okay. What did you go to study in Cuba? Tell us a little bit about your Cuba experience.
Well, fresh out of high school, I actually did a year at the College of the Bahamas.
Okay.
At the time, the agriculture program was pretty much non-existent. There were agriculture classes, but there was no major for agriculture.
Okay.
I wanted to do agribusiness at the time. They put together an old curriculum that they had for me.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't very happy, and an opportunity raised to go to Cuba on a scholarship from the Cuban government to study agronomy,
Okay.
which is basically soil and plant science.
Mm-hmm.
And while over there, I learned a lot, but I did a lot of the foundation classes, and as I spoke to persons further along in the program, I realized that it wasn't really where I wanted to go in agriculture. Still not very sure what I wanted to do at the time, but I realized that it was a good program, but soil and plants was not exactly all I wanted to do, if what I wanted to do at all.
Now, before you move from that, so, because there are not a lot of people that don't appreciate that agricultural science is such a vast area of study. Mm-hmm. Just like, for example, social science includes things like history, political science, anthropology, all these different ideas. Yes. Agricultural science has agronomy, you have genetics areas, you have, I don't know all of them, but you could probably inform us more. You have people creating hybrids, you have people doing all kind of different stuff, and you decided agronomy wasn't really for you.
Yeah, I like the idea of agronomy and being able to create varieties locally, but you don't necessarily need agronomy to do that. Studying agronomy would have limited me to just focusing on plants and soil types.
Okay.
We have numerous soil types in the Bahamas, but a simple soil science class could help you to cover it to an extent where you could still be productive and able to help others understand it a bit better.
Okay. So what was your next step? Because I would imagine that the Cuban system sort of doesn't allow you to just shift your major or do whatever you want.
No, I wasn't able to change my major. It was pretty much the only major specifically geared to agriculture other than veterinary science.
Okay.
So it was either agronomy or veterinary science. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted a combination of the two.
Okay. Okay.
To bring the two together, which led me to where I am now.
Now, that's confusing. I'm sure it is for the average person because a veterinarian is an animal doctor, right?
Correct.
So how does veterinary science and agronomy tie together?
Well, veterinary science falls under agriculture.
Wow.
Unless you go to a school where veterinary science is one of their main fields of study. Okay. You would generally find veterinary science in a school of agriculture, or you may have a school of natural sciences, which would include agricultural studies as well as veterinary studies. Okay. Because the animal science that I've done now in the past year, I speak to my friends who are studying veterinary medicine, and we correspond, and we are studying the exact same stuff. So it all ties in.
So how does that work, though? I mean, why a vet from my knowledge, I thought a vet was just, they'd see the dog, and if you have a parrot, if you have a horse or something like that. I didn't understand that that could be so closely related to agriculture. Why would an agriculturalist study animals?
Well, as you mentioned, there are various fields in agriculture, and I tell people all the time, agriculture has, I think, more careers than any other broad group of studies. An accountant can be an accountant.
Yeah.
He can't be a doctor.
No.
He can't be a lawyer.
No.
He could probably run a business. A doctor, I have vet friends that always say that real doctors focus on more than one animal, considering that vets focus on, when they study from rats straight on up to elephants. That may not be what they practice. They may focus on smaller domestic animals. They may focus on livestock. They may focus on zoo animals. So.
Oh, so that's the tie-in, livestock.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
That's where it comes. Okay, all right. Okay, I got you. All right. I just need everybody to get that at the same time. So I get that because you just never think about it. But livestock is animals, right?
Yep.
So, all right, got you. Okay, so and you're studying where now?
I'm currently at Sterling College in Craftsbury Common in Vermont.
Okay.
Which is a very, very small town, 1,100 people, but it's a small school. Agriculture is one of our main focuses, and we have a farm. At any point in time, we could have anywhere from 20 to over 100 animals, ranging from cattle, sheep, goat, pigs, rabbits, all for food purposes, as well as, obviously, this would be the growing season in that part of the U.S., where we would grow anything from carrots, onions, rutabaga, you name it, things that we don't consume here in the Bahamas, potatoes, everything.
Okay. So let's talk a bit about like what you've learned. You're a Bahamian, born in the Bahamas. You've been living here all your life, and then you decided you were going to go off to study agriculture.
Right.
But there is a crisis of food in the Bahamas, not just
in the world.
In the world, very much so. But particularly when you look at the world and the Bahamas, we pretty much playing on the same, because the Bahamas cannot feed itself. The world, on by and large, is having problems feeding populations of some areas of billions of people that just can't get food. On the other hand, you have companies like Monsanto that are trying to own the concept of crop. They're trying to take it over. They're trying to master the gene. They're trying to create destroyer genes. You have all this fun stuff. What have you learned so far that impacts your idea of being a Bahamian in a food crisis country where we just cannot provide for ourselves?
Well, I'd start with my experience in Cuba. Well, actually, let me let you know how I got into agriculture.
Okay, yeah, let's talk.
I spent some time, while in high school, I wanted to be a vet. I loved animals. I still love animals.
Okay.
But I did a work study with Dr. Godfrey Springer, who is now the head veterinary officer in the Ministry of Agriculture. And at the time, he was just a vet in the ministry. He took me down to GRAC on Gladstone Road, and we went to the pigs.
Okay.
He allowed me to castrate the pigs. He allowed me to cut the eye teeth of the piglets. And I started asking questions, why are we doing this? And when he explained to me the reason they do it for food, and then the breeding purposes for mothers, and then I saw the amount of pigs that they had there, I literally fell in love with pigs at that moment and the concept of growing and raising your food.
Okay.
And so that's where it started. And I chose to go to Cuba because it's the closest agriculturally thriving nation to us, with similar climate, similar soil types, and pretty much similar culture in some ways. And in Cuba, I really learned and saw a country that had to feed itself. They didn't have a choice in the matter. The U.S. stopped, Cuba being able to sell to them. They do import some stuff from the U.S., believe it or not, but seeing them cultivate and grow their own food out of necessity and realizing and being happy with it, the quality of food there is pretty good.
Oh, I know. I've been to Cuba several times. I know the food tastes different.
Yes.
It
tastes
completely
earthy.
different.
It tastes real.
Yeah, it does.
And then one thing I will never forget, in my first year in Cuba, we had this thing called Trabajo Voluntario, which is voluntary work.
Okay.
but it's not really voluntary.
Trabajo voluntario.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a bit obligatory, and so we went to the field, and they said, okay, you're going to spend 6 hours picking potatoes.
I love how Cuba mixes force with volunteerism.
Yeah, and it was a decent experience because
you can grow potatoes in Cuba.
You can grow potatoes here in the Bahamas. We used to export potatoes to the U.S.
We used to export potatoes. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but being out there in the field picking these potatoes, and then they allowed us to carry some back with us.
Yeah.
And we saw these truckloads. I mean, semi-trailers loaded with bags and bags of potatoes going off to feed this country. For me, it was an overwhelming experience being able to be a part of helping to feed a nation.
Yeah.
And then being able to take back the food. I wasn't involved in the growing process, but I helped to harvest it, which is a major part of growing food.
Yeah.
And being able to go back that same day and cut and make French fries from the potatoes that I just picked out of the ground.
That feel good, eh?
It was a good feeling. I mean, we had potatoes for about 6 months after that.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't eat a whole heap of potatoes.
Yeah.
But
well, I don't eat starch at all, but
yeah, but it was a
good.
It was a good experience. And then where I am now in Vermont, studying sustainable agriculture, being in a school where we grow a lot of our own food. We produce, I think, somewhere about 30% of the food we consume annually.
Yeah.
From, like I said, from meat products.
Just on the campus?
On the campus.
Okay.
And it's not a large campus, probably the size of COB's campus. It's just the school, just to give you size, is only 105 students.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your community is smaller than COB.
Yes.
Because COB has about 4,500 students.
Yeah. And the community is 1,100 humans in that area,
It becomes very simple when you're in Vermont, right?
Yeah.
The humans. The humans I have contact with is only 1,100.
Yeah, and I mean, growing 30% of our food, I've been involved in chicken slaughters. I believe from I arrived at the school in September, the only chicken slaughters I have not been a part of were those that were during school breaks.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy being a part of that process. The pig slaughters, raising the calves, raising the sheep and goats, the kids and the lambs, and going out and making sure these animals are fed. And it used to be a bit stressful at times because it would be about 35 degrees outside, about a foot of snow, and I have to walk about half a mile at 6 a.m. in the morning to go and feed these sheep, goat, and pigs.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day, you realize you kind of get attached to them. But I have learned to distance myself. You can be attached while the animal is growing.
You got to eat it at some point.
But after a while, you lose that attachment and realize that, hey, I'm going to treat you good because I want you to treat me good.
Yeah.
You understand? But
okay.
That's what it has been for me. And then with the sustainable agriculture, it encourages practices that protect the earth and allow animals and plants to live happier lives. People often think that plants don't have emotions and they don't think and they don't feel.
Yeah.
But they actually do. And it affects the quality of meat from an animal and the quality of the fruit or root crop that you would consume from a plant.
Yeah.
So those things are things that I've been trying to practice. A lot of these pesticides you mentioned, Monsanto, which created a Roundup ready, a lot of Roundup ready seeds from corn to soy to wheat. They're working on several other stuff, beets, and Roundup is a chemical that should really and truly kill any plant.
Yeah.
And it has killed bees also, and people forget how important bees are with pollination. But when you have a plant that is able to defend itself against a chemical that essentially is supposed to kill it, that's like a Superman plant.
Yeah.
Superman is inhuman, so then that plant is no longer a plant.
Yeah, that's something else.
They often, with GMOs, which these Roundup ready plants are, they really and truly, they take genes from sometimes animals, sometimes bacteria, and they inject these genes into the plants. And then they are able to defend themselves. They become a super plant. And then we consume this, but it's not natural.
Yeah.
You understand? I don't like the term organic.
Yeah.
It has become a marketing term.
Yeah. Well, what doesn't become sullied by America's capitalism, right? Everything, certified organic, fresh, natural, this and that, 100% juice. What else? Any amount of nonsense they could say to sell you garbage. Listen, before we get into that, let me take a break here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dion Gibson. He is studying to be a sustainable agriculturalist in Vermont, and he's here to educate us about agriculture. This is in an attempt, again, to have a real discussion about agriculture as opposed to waste time talking about school and all kind of thing that I doubt will ever happen. So we can make it happen right here. I'll be right back after these messages. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Citizens Review. I'm Aaron Ferguson, host and executive producer. I'm here with Dion DeCosta Gibson, or Gibby the Farmer. Gibby the Farmer, I prefer to call him Gibby the Farmer, I like that terminology, is a sustainable agriculture student in Vermont at Sterling College. And we're talking about, we just talked about your experience and how you decided to get into this and all of that. But I want to talk more about the information that you've learned, some of the things that are dangerous to us that we may be consuming, and also systems here. So what is, because we always reference Monsanto. I had Erin Green on here, and she talked about Monsanto, and also she talked about, in reference to constitutional reform, the right to eat good food, the right to have food that is, not tampered with. What is a genetically modified organism? Like, what is that? What is Monsanto, in your opinion, trying to achieve with this?
Well, first of all, a genetically modified organism would be any plant or animal or even bacteria, fungi, that before it has had a chance to properly develop, or even in its development stages, has been, the genetic makeup of it has been altered.
Okay.
So it could be as simple as putting, I just did a speech the other day on if pigs flew.
Yeah.
And I said that it could be possible because if you placed the gene of a large enough bird in a piglet to grow wings, that piglet might grow wings and he might learn how to fly.
Yeah.
So that's as simple as I can put it.
Yeah.
To change an animal or plant by putting something in it, another gene from a totally different organism. You could use one animal to another animal, a plant to an animal, to change its genetic makeup to make it better or supposedly better and resistant to any number of things.
Now, I guess that would be the modern identification of, but how different is hybridizing species than genetic modification? Because I grew up in Freeport with Gina Farms, Mr. Ferguson. You know Mr. Ferguson in Freeport?
I heard of him.
I assume that his training is in agronomy as well.
Okay.
But he used to blend different colors of hibiscus. He used to blend different poinsettias. He used to come up with different stuff. Is that genetically modifying? Is that considered the same thing?
I personally wouldn't consider it the same thing. Some persons may. It's the same as essentially a black man and a white woman having a child.
Okay, so you just basically mix
within the same within the same species.
Yeah.
But mixing varieties.
Okay. Okay.
It's just like a German Shepherd didn't just appear and be a German Shepherd. The first dogs come from wolves.
Okay. Gotcha.
So all of the many breeds of dog that we have share the same species.
Yeah.
They are just subspecies and varieties of one original species.
Okay. Which is very different than giving a pig wings.
Yes, extremely different. Because pigs in no way are related to birds.
Okay. Why does an apple that I buy from the food store that definitely doesn't taste like an apple from an orchard in Canada?
Yes.
Why does it last for like 2 months in my house. How does it do that? Why does it not rot?
There are several processes that go into a lot of the foods that we consume, especially those grown for export to countries like the Bahamas that don't produce some of the things that we like to consume. Apples sometimes are picked prematurely.
Okay.
And then force ripened in a gas chamber.
Okay. In a gas chamber?
A gas chamber.
Like, what type of gas?
Carbonization or oxidization.
Okay.
Or some other
They do this to the bananas too?
Sometimes, but you realize that sometimes you could get a bunch of fresh Chiquita bananas with the stamp on them that are actually green.
Okay.
So bananas will ripen off of the vine, off of the bunch.
Okay.
So bananas not necessarily, but if you see a fruit that feels waxy on the outside, that waxing preserves it because it doesn't allow the oxygen in the air right around that apple to get into it.
Okay.
So they wax their fruits.
That's why you're told to wash your fruits,
Wash them thoroughly. Even oranges, some of the oranges that we get come with wax on them, or you feel this funny texture on them. Some of the sweet peppers that are imported. I told someone before, I said, do a test. Get a locally grown sweet pepper or orange or whatever, and put it in the fridge. No, put both of them on the counter, and a local one, and put them on the counter, and tell me which one rots the quickest.
Yeah.
Obviously, people know that the local fruit will rot quicker.
Yeah.
Well, it's more natural. It doesn't have as much chemicals. It may have some pesticide on it, or it might have received pesticide in the growing process, and herbicides may have been sprayed on it. But I prefer something that's going to rot quicker because it shows me that that's in as natural a form as it could be.
Yeah.
And the other one is probably induced with who knows how many chemicals.
Yeah.
And the whole GMO thing, I think, is an attempt to eradicate the world of food insecurity. People always like to say food security. It doesn't exist. Food insecurity exists.
What does that mean? Explain that for me.
Food security and
food insecurity. Yeah.
Well, food insecurity is what we have in the Bahamas and in the world right now.
Yeah.
And the FAO.
So you mean just basically not being secure with your food supply?
Yeah, I'll give you a definition of food security, which was, I think, the World Food Summit, either by the World Health Organization or FAO in 1996. They defined it as when all people at all times have access to sufficient, safe food, safe, nutritious food. Meaning that just because me and you could go to the store and afford to buy some food, and that food may not be safe.
Yeah.
There are many. The main issue with food security today is people not being able to afford or access food.
Okay.
But we also forget the safe, nutritious aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think when the average Bahamian talks about food security, they're talking about being able to grow our own food.
Yes.
Okay. But then there's the issue of what you grow, is it safe?
And how you grow it.
And how you grow it. And then can everybody get access to it after you? Because you could grow your own food, supply your whole country with food, but nobody could afford it. And then it could not be healthy. And oh, Jesus, it's complicated.
So it's a whole cadre of stuff.
See, this is why we're having the conversation here, because I never hear that part in Parliament. They always talking about import. In fact, they just released there's this big chicken stigma. I firmly believe the chicken giving us cancer. I don't care what nobody's saying. But we importing garbage, and I think there are some people who intend, if they want to grow, to maybe grow garbage, which is, I think, dangerous. Because do we even have organic farms in the Bahamas? Or quote-unquote certified organic farms?
There is one certified organic farm in the Bahamas, and that is Aberconneem. Okay. They are certified solely because they bring in a certifying agency out of, I'm not sure, I think somewhere in the southern U.S.
Okay.
They bring in the agency to certify them. There's nobody locally who is licensed or certified to certify anything or anyone organic.
So the Bahamas doesn't even have standards for it?
No.
No.
We don't have standards for, I don't think, anything related to food. We don't have standards for the food that is imported into our country. So there's no regulation on what is imported.
Okay. Do we follow the FDA then, or we just bring in whatever?
What the wholesalers bring in is what we eat.
and that is certainly food insecure.
Because we're not sure what it is. I cannot say that everything they bring in is either GMO or, induced with fertilizers and all these other non-natural things.
Yeah, but no one is checking.
There's currently nothing in place. How can you check if you have no standards to check by?
So literally, for example, there are some food packages that say for export only.
Mm-hmm.
What is that about? Because I've heard that that's dangerous food.
I personally think so. Someone tried to tell me the other day that, they produce some stuff for export and some stuff to stay. And it causes me to wonder, why would I grow something and label it for export only when I'm supposed to be selling the same product or growing the same product for all people? If I'm growing tomatoes, why am I growing some tomatoes for export and some for the local market?
Perhaps they can't pass the standards in the U.S.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
I personally believe that it's things that cannot pass the standard, or those ones, or like a lot of the meat that we receive is older.
Yeah.
As I told someone the other day, look at a bottle of milk. I went to the food store on Monday. My mother asked me to get some milk. I looked at the milk. The dates on the best sold by date on the milk was July 1st and July 3rd. That's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Day after tomorrow. That's right there.
Yeah.
You go in the U.S. and you look at a bottle of milk, the same MacArthur's or whatever these other companies are, and that same bottle of milk will be dated up until August 15th.
Yeah. So we get an old milk.
Pretty much. I mean, it's still drinkable, but it's not the best product that we could receive.
Yeah. So how do we, what do you do? You in this world, you go to the food store because that's what you could afford. You go to fast food because sometimes you can't, you don't have time to cook. And I fear that it's killing us, which is why I stopped eating all that stuff. I get all my greens from an organic, or quote-unquote organic. Now that I know that ain't nobody satisfied except for my good people at Abaco Neem, but I get it from a backyard farmer. I like backyard, who uses neem oil instead of other fertilizer, not fertilizer, but pesticides.
Yeah. Well, neem is a fertilizer also.
Neem is a fertilizer too. Okay. Well, neem is just everything.
Neem is a wonderful plant. Now, I'm not putting a plug in for them, but that's the facts. If you do your research on neem, Indian neem as they call it, it's one of the best plants around for all around human animal plant health.
Yeah. And it's from India. The plant is from India.
It's just like mangoes.
Okay. Oh, mangoes from India.
Yeah, they're not native to the Bahamas.
Okay. What is native to the Bahamas?
What is?
What plants?
Maybe 5-finger.
Okay.
Love
vine.
Love vine. I mean, see, there's people fail to realize that indigenous, well, you can use the term native. It has naturalized itself to the Bahamas mangoes because there are over 1,000 varieties of mango, over 1,000 varieties of dilly and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they may not be the original dilly, but you have the variety of dilly that we have in the Bahamas, as I was informed by someone from the National Trust. The variety that you find these days is not the native variety. It's some new variety that grows faster because you know how long it takes for a dilly tree to grow.
Yeah, dilly.
So you see these 5-foot, 10-foot dilly trees. That can't be a native dilly tree because those that are dying out. People, when you buy a piece of property, what do? Send the bulldozer to and clear down all the trees, not checking to see what fruit trees they have in their yard.
Yeah.
The same fruits that may keep you alive.
Let me ask a question. Should we, in the Bahamas or in the Caribbean, when we met, we were by the Abaco Neem booth at the Green Earth Festival from the Ministry of Culture. And the lady from Neem said that we need a seed bank. Is that necessary?
A seed bank is necessary, and it goes back to Monsanto, who is trying to, they actually have patents for certain seeds, and Monsanto will sue you if they find that you are growing their seeds, but you didn't purchase it from them. So if you buy Monsanto corn seeds, you have no right to take an ear of corn and take the seeds from that and replant that.
Because they can sue you.
They can sue you. As well as there are many farmers right now that are suing Monsanto because they're finding Monsanto GMO corn in their cornfields because, come on, let's be real. These are
the
plants.
air. Yeah.
It blows. If as simple as a grain of pollen from one field that's growing Monsanto corn blows into an organic or non-Monsanto field, that right there will alter that other plant because that cross-pollination, it's a sexual process. So you now get a half Monsanto corn.
And then, of course, the Monsanto is modified to be better performing and all of that. So eventually your whole field...
It's supposed to be better performing, and you're not supposed to have to use pesticides and herbicides and whatnot. But I'll tell you this, I don't consider it to be better. I've seen many studies and different pictures on Facebook and on other sites, but there's a group that I follow on Facebook called Grow Food, Not Lawns. And
not lawns?
Yeah.
Okay.
So backyard farming, front yard farming versus you can't eat grass.
Okay.
Unless you have chickens or goats, you know, the grass isn't doing nothing.
It's useless.
Actually, before I go into the Monsanto thing, but people fail to realize that growing a lawn was a status thing. That started, I'm not sure how long ago, but it was something that rich people did to show that I don't have to grow food. I could afford to grow 500 square feet of grass because I could afford to go to the store and buy my food. Whereas it was traditional and culture and normal for everyone to eat out of their yard.
Okay.
I always talk to old people who tell me, growing up, Mommy had 10 chicken and 5 duck. We had a couple pig.
Yeah.
Now, I asked my mother to put a pig in the yard and she asked me if I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But she doesn't realize that I get that pig to 100 pounds. I slaughter him and get him butchered, and that's enough pork for the year. And we know what that pig ate.
Yeah. But there was a phenomenon in economics when I was in school where a teacher sat down and explained to us when vacant land became valuable. Because vacant land was just that. It was vacant land. The reason why it had no value is because it wasn't arable land. If there was nothing being grown on the land, it had no value. Then all of a sudden, as a corporate concept, they say, oh, well, all land has value. And then I suppose the next step was, well, you don't need to use your land to create your own food. You could just make your land a big canvas, just make it pretty. So that sort of leads into what you were talking about. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So everybody used to grow on their land, and grass was showing off. And now everybody got grass. And we don't even know that you could do something different. But guess what?
Nowadays, to have a garden in your backyard, that's a privilege. People are so happy to have a garden, and they show it off.
Yeah.
They show off their gardens. You know?
Isn't that amazing?
First thing when people come to my house, come see the chickens, come see the garden.
Yeah, and that's like, oh, these are big time. You got time to be having a garden in your backyard.
You know?
When in fact that used to be the regular. The grass used to be showing off. Now the garden is showing off again. Oh boy, that reminded me of the time when my mommy used to tell me, my mother and father, when they used to say they used to eat chicken on Sundays. They used to eat fish through the week.
Yeah.
And chicken was like, that was the big thing. Yeah. Now chicken is chicken in the bag on any corner, and Goober is $100 out by the door. Wow. Well, you were going to say something.
Yeah, the GMO foods. I saw this picture once of a squirrel. Well, they set up this little, on a tree, they put Monsanto corn, organic corn.
Okay.
They left it there for one day. They had like one of those cameras that take 1 million shots per second or whatever. And they got images of the squirrel tasting the Monsanto and spit it out. And then turn around and devour the entire organic corn.
Yeah.
These are animals that don't have the thinking that we do.
No.
But if they can realize, animals can heal themselves by finding the right bush to eat.
Yeah.
So if they can realize by eating this that this isn't good for me and turn around and eat an organic corn or natural corn, I think that right there is enough said.
It says everything. All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back to talk about solutions. How does the Bahamas get out of its insecurity with food? We'll be right back. ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Citizens Review. I'm Aaron Ferguson, your host and executive producer. I'm here with Gibby the farmer, Dion Gibson, who's studying sustainable agriculture at Sterling College in Vermont. And we were talking about this sort of conversion from vacant land to arable land being your yard, and now all of a sudden we've all embraced the privilege of grass. You were saying just now when we were on the break how possible it is for somebody to use their own land.
Yes.
Because people will say, oh, well, there's only rock in the back of my yard, or that dirt ain't worth nothing. How do you get to have your own backyard farm? Explain to us how to enjoy the privilege.
Well, first of all, you have to want to do it.
Yeah.
You know, there are many people who always say, oh, I want a backyard farm. And, you know, you go and you help them, you get them started, you put the plants down. But 2 months later, they call you everything dead.
Yeah.
They expect it just to grow on its own.
Yeah.
You have to go there, you have to prune, you have to water, you know, all these things. But a lot of people like to say that we don't have good soil here in the Bahamas. I even had a teacher at my school, she's from Denmark, and they do a trip to San Salvador, one very tiny island in the Bahamas, and she has judged all of the soil in the Bahamas from one island. Anyone who knows the Bahamas knows that every single island has a different geography, geology. They're all different.
Different ecosystems.
You understand? But we don't have the best soil.
Yeah.
But to say that we have bad soil, I cannot agree with that. Growing near marshland obviously could be ideal depending on what you're growing. It all depends on what you want to grow.
Yeah.
Okay? But I've found that lawns actually help to make help to make soil better.
Okay.
Because
you said loins?
Lawn.
Okay.
Lawns.
Lawn helps to make soil better.
Yeah, because most of the time when you buy a piece of property, you know, they just excavate and then they throw a bunch of fill down.
Yeah.
And then you put maybe a 6-inch layer of topsoil, if that much. All right? But what the lawn does is it increases organic life, organic matter. As it dies, it goes into the soil. And it gives nutrients back to the soil. That's how soil was created, from trees and everything dying and creating nutrients. It's all a giant compost.
Okay.
The earth was a giant compost before all of this man-made structure.
Okay, gotcha.
And if you find worms digging in your backyard, that is very, very healthy soil. People think worms are bad and they eat plants. No, they don't. They eat dead stuff.
Yeah.
And when they defecate soil.
Yeah.
Okay? Also, something I think that I prefer myself is adding manures.
Okay.
I mentioned I have chickens in my backyard, so I use my chicken manure, and I go to Bash to support behemoths, and I buy horse manure from them. Okay. A lot of people will be quick to go buy the black cow manure. We don't know what those cows eating. Yeah. So just because it's cow manure, don't mean it's good.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, but I think that's one of the ways I feel as though we're going to combat food insecurity in the world, backyard farming. I know and I understand that everyone can't grow everything.
Yeah, definitely.
I can't grow, let's say I like asparagus. Asparagus don't grow that well in the Bahamas. Peru is the best producer of asparagus and the largest producer of asparagus. So why don't we create trades with Peru? Yeah. You understand? But grow what you can. And we must also learn to alter our diets to what we can grow. Yeah. When I was in Cuba, I didn't eat anything that wasn't from Cuba. Yeah, I might have seen frozen vegetables in the food store, but they were frozen broccoli, frozen cauliflower, and yeah, they may have been imported, but I could have gone to the market and what that one bag of frozen vegetables cost, buy 2 months supply of fresh vegetables in the market. Okay? So we have to learn to consume what we can grow. Yeah. We
and in season too, right?
In season, yes. Yeah. Also in season. But a lot of these things can be frozen. I presently have 3 1-gallon bags of kale in my freezer. Yeah. You know, and that's from 5 kale plants. 5 small kale plants. And certain things will continuously grow. Yeah. But we have to learn to change our diets to eat what we can grow. Yeah. And also not think negatively and say, oh, I can't, or we can't. People say that we can't grow enough food for this country. Behemoths, I want you to remember that at one point, we exported to the U.S., to the almost the entire eastern seaboard of the U.S. We exported tomatoes, onions, grapefruits, almost all citrus fruits. And now we can't feed ourselves. Why can't we do it now?
Doesn't make sense.
We don't want to. We too spoiled. Almost $1 billion a year on food imports for this country. Why can't we invest half of that on infrastructure and farming in this country? And I'll guarantee you, I'm pretty sure that within maybe 20 years, it's not going to be overnight that we start feeding ourselves.
No.
But 20, 30 years, we will see a lot of changes in what we can do to feed ourselves.
But we could make 10, 20% impacts on our food insecurity in short periods of time.
Yeah, I mean, presently agriculture and fisheries account for, I think, 5% or 7% of the GDP, with fisheries being maybe like, if it's 7, I think fisheries is like 6.8.
Yeah, exactly.
But I go to these farmers markets on Saturdays and I can buy produce from my house for the month.
Yeah.
I visit farms, hear about farmers who've got chickens, who've got sheep, who've got goats. Some people even have ostrich.
Yeah.
Locally, that you can go and buy these things locally. Yeah. Yes, it may not be in the food store, but it's going to be cheaper if you go directly to the farmer than the food store also.
Yeah.
So I think presently if we were to regulate our agriculture in this country as it is, do a proper audit and visit each island and see what is growing where, and regulate how it's exported and help these farmers to market.
Yeah.
A lot of them rely on the packing houses and the produce exchange to sell their produce for them.
Yeah. And a lot of material rots in the exchange.
It's horrible. I mean, last year
if they compost that to create soil.
Compost.
Yeah.
Do they know what that is?
Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. Oh boy. But a lot of stuff rots there.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year Andros produced more onions than was imported into this country, and over half of that wasted. Granted, they may only be growing the big white onions, and people want red onion and they want scallion and this and that.
So Andros produced
enough. Andros alone produced enough onion for this entire country,
and we wasted half of it.
About half of it, or maybe more.
But we import and buy onions that you probably shouldn't be eating.
Yeah.
Would you support a ban on GMO foods altogether into the Bahamas?
I support it in the world, but definitely locally.
Definitely.
But even in the U.S., they're having trouble with getting companies to label their foods as GMO.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't even know what is from what isn't.
Yeah.
The Bahamas, I feel, needs to jump on the bandwagon and demand that they label them also.
Yeah.
We currently have no stance.
We haven't, no declared interest.
No.
Nothing.
I mean, in speaking to some senior officials in the Ministry of Agriculture, they say that GMOs are not an issue.
Oh, okay. All right. That's just wonderful.
So,
but we open in our agriculture school. We don't have no standards.
Well, they're working on SPS, which is sanitary, phytosanitary, which will include meat products or any livestock product, as well as phytosanitary being plant products.
Yeah.
This is something that they're doing for WTO. Honestly, personally, I think they're only doing it to join WTO.
Yeah.
I don't know if
it won't necessarily
enforcing these standards is something that they're doing for the best interest of the country. We hear this talk, this mumbo jumbo, like you say. They talk a lot of stuff in the House, but I mean, how much of it is really truly passion driven? Persons have spoken to me and told me I need to hurry up and finish school.
Yeah.
But why do I need to hurry up and finish? You're not even helping me. They don't offer. There's no scholarship for agriculture students. No specific scholarship, but yet I have nothing wrong with doctors. They pay 80% of people's tuition to go to UE to study medicine and law, and you're supposed to be serious about agriculture.
Yeah.
When we have too much lawyers in the country
and too much doctors,
yeah. We got so many doctors that we could afford for them to go and work in the States.
Yeah.
But you can't give, and I'm not asking for anything.
Yeah.
But you cannot encourage and entice people to study agriculture by offering these scholarships.
Yeah.
I'm a part of an organization that did a interest meeting to try BAFI, which is Bahamas Agriculture Forum for Youth. We had a interest meeting trying to get young people to see how many young people were interested in it, and all public school students, and their biggest cry was there's no BGCSE for agriculture. Unlike
You
CXC,
got one for typing. Yeah.
they don't have, and then there's no scholarships. Many of them cannot afford to go to even go to the College of the Bahamas.
Yeah.
But yet you want people to study agriculture. The average age of a farmer or person involved in agriculture in this country is about 45 to 70, and that's the ministry staff.
So that means that we're about to lose a generation of people with any level of expertise and nothing to replace them. Anything else we need to know about agriculture as it relates to us or the world? Anything?
You know, I've coined this phrase that a nation will never experience national security, job security, financial security, or health security without food security. If you can't feed yourself, you're going to forever be paying other people for food.
Yeah.
Your food is going to be, we don't know what we're importing.
You don't know what you're eating.
So we don't know what we're eating, so it's hard to be healthy.
Yeah.
Agriculture is the agriculture sector worldwide is one of the largest employers.
I can imagine.
Okay? The U.S. agriculture, I think they employ over 7 million persons, okay, in the U.S. And what I just said, national security. People ain't got no jobs and they ain't healthy and they ain't got no money.
Yeah.
You expect a broke person to just sit home and not do anything?
Yeah.
They got to go out and find some way to do it. I don't support crime, but that's one of the reasons for crime, along with other issues.
You can't eat. You don't have reasonable access to food.
So, I mean, you're not going to have food, no health, national, financial, or job security without food security. That's my personal belief.
Yeah. I mean, and it makes sense. It goes back to when you used to leave home for school. Remember when you was in primary school? And you know the one thing you could ask your mommy for, and you would get money for it, is for lunch.
Yeah.
Because your mommy said you got to eat so you could study. You got to have something to eat so you could go to school. That was the one thing you know you get no resistance from. If they ain't done pack you something, you say, Mommy, I need money for lunch. And she said, all right, then you got to eat.
You speak to teachers today, they will tell you that, the children come to school hungry and they can't focus in school. And we wonder
And they serving garbage in school too. Chicken wing and fry and this and that. Oh boy. Okay. So food security is the catalyst of national security, job security, health security, and
financial security. In my opinion.
It sounds like it makes sense to me. Before you could secure anything else, you got to eat. Before you could do anything else, you got to eat. Maslow's pyramid of needs. Physiological first. You got to eat, then you got to have some place to live. Dion Gibson, Gibby the Farmer. Thanks for coming. What did you bring, by the way? You brought some.
These are some sweet pepper seedlings and a mint plant that, like I said, I help people do gardens, and sweet peppers are something that grow pretty well year-round. This isn't the best time to be growing stuff, but I try to break laws. I try to see how I can be different and make things happen outside of the norm.
Okay.
I don't
but
like
still
to be limited.
Be natural.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't, this is ProMix, which is you can buy it from the fish and farm store, and only thing it has in it is a mycorrhizal fungi, which exists in soil.
Okay.
And what the fungi do is they grow and they spread in the soil, and when they die, they leave these pathways for the roots to grow in. Whereas when we till the soil and compact it with the tractors, your plant will never get as big as it can because it's spending so much time trying to break through the soil to look for nutrients.
Okay. So this is yellow sweet pepper.
Yeah, and this one is the orange sweet pepper.
That's orange sweet pepper. Boy, that is make your salad so pretty.
Yeah,
and then this is a mint tree.
This is a spearmint tree, yeah.
Spearmint.
I don't like to buy tea. I don't drink tea bags. I have rosemary, sage,
you have all
basil, and I go outside and I get some mint and mix it with rosemary. People tell me be careful with these cocktails I'm mixing up. But, if it don't kill me, it only can make me strong, and I still here. So
I'll praise the Lord for that. Okay, and also I wanted to show, because I actually got a packet from the neem, and it's amazing that you say neem is so helpful, because I got a packet. I actually used the neem escape balm one time on my face when I had some ingrown hairs, and it works. So I started to, just a couple of days ago, I started to take the neem capsules because they have some capsules you could take to keep you healthy. And I mean, I think neem works. I don't know what it is in neem. I don't know how it does work, but I've tried in fact, when we were in Cuba, a friend of mine hit his knee and got a cut. And we put the neem, I just so happened to put,
extract.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just so happened to have the neem thing in my bag. Because I say, we going to Cuba, I know, let me just put this in here. The spray or the antibacterial thing, and we put it on it, and
it was fine.
It was fine.
I had an ear infection, and I put in, my ears were clogged, and I put some drops in, and my eyes were fine.
Yeah.
The infection went away within a few days.
From the neem?
From the neem drops.
Oh, boy.
I just gave some to my chickens today to help with mosquitoes and other pests that may be bothering them. Put some in their water, could put in their food. I spray it on the plants as a pesticide, and it's natural.
Yeah.
And this is the only certified organic farm in the country, so we know that they aren't using chemicals on their farm.
Exactly.
And, you go online and you search natural fertilizers, natural pesticides, natural healing agents, neem will come up.
Yeah.
It's one of those, they have so many different plants out there that we seem to forget about, but neem is one of those, and we're fortunate enough for it to be able to grow here in the Bahamas and not have to import it.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we have a farm that is already
Yeah.
doing it. The other thing I wanted to emphasize, Callie Burrows in Eleuthera, she has this this business where she does seasonings. She has Eleuthera blend all natural with no salt, which is important
Very
for me
good,
because
yeah.
I don't like to use salt. She has Eleuthera blend meat, Eleuthera blend seafood, and Eleuthera blend pond salt. And she was telling me about the pond salt because apparently they go to the pond in Eleuthera. The pond is like almost a red color.
Okay.
And then they go in and they extract the salt out of the pond. That's just amazing to me that we have all these things here, and we don't even talk about it. We don't nothing. She cuts up all of these ingredients natural right in her home.
Yeah.
So I want this on my food. I don't want that stuff maybe from Badia that may not be good. I don't know where they're getting it from. They packaging it in a big factory, and they telling me it's cayenne.
What kind of stuff is touching?
I went to the farmers markets in Atlanta, and it's run by Ethiopians.
Okay.
And they had cayenne pepper. I use cayenne pepper every day in my green smoothie because it clears up mucus. Yeah. It's very good for blood flow, all of that stuff. And here I am thinking, like, I got the Badia cayenne pepper I use. So I think, all right, well, I can put, maybe a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. Boy, look here, I put that cayenne pepper from the farmer's market, I almost dead. It's like, what's going on? It's a different color.
Yeah.
It has completely different taste, a different reaction, everything. I said, so what is it that I am eating at home that ain't working like this here?
Probably stretched out and watered down, so to make it go further.
It looked burnt. The one I got home it looked so sickening to me now, because I done experienced the bright red, beautiful cayenne pepper that I only could put a half a teaspoon in, and that may knock me down. But when I go home, I was like, this thing brown looking. It looked funny. It don't have no. I gotta put a tablespoon or more to see if it get a little kick. So it just, all that stuff just makes me sick, man. I wish we could make real moves towards getting persons like yourself educated and to the highest extent so that you could come back and show the Bahamas how to do this thing. Because it seems possible.
It is possible. It definitely is. I mean, we did it before.
Yeah.
I don't see.
Yeah, just like,
a lot of reasons why things went sour, politics, people, all kind of different things, but it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about the health and livelihood of a nation, and you're going to allow politics to come in the middle of that?
Doesn't make sense.
It's sad.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you coming. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show, and in the keeping with the farming slogan and the worms that eat up and create soil, we are but dust. I say this every week, and it's so poignant now. We are but dust, and to dust we shall return. You might as well say what you got to say before you're dead. See you next week. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.